So good afternoon, and today I will continue talking about the second simile of the verse from the Vajra Sutra, which contains 9 different similes or examples about how things that appear to us don't exist as they really appear, and they have another mode of existence, emptiness of inherent existence. So in our the verse in the prayer book we have, the second simile says mirage, but the Tibetan term actually means some kind of fault of vision. In the sutra, as translated by Venerable George, he has the term visual aberration, and apparently the medical term for this problem is actually vitreous floaters. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's some kind of problem with the eyes that causes you to see things that aren't there. And in Khensa Rinpoche's book, Khensa Jampa-Tekchok's book, Insight into Emptiness, he says that this is a problem that sometimes occurs in elderly people, but it can be anybody as well. And he gives an example. He says, a person with this ailment may have a clean bowl in front of him, but sees fine hairs falling into it. I guess that's how it appears sometimes to people who have this condition. So I was trying to imagine myself if I had this problem. And like here, we have the food set out for meals, and we have these nice clean bowls. So if you come along and you pick up a bowl and you look at it, and you see these little black things that may look like pieces of dirt or bugs or hairs, as they're described here, then you would think, ooh, this is dirty. I can't eat out of this. And another person comes along and looks and says, I don't see anything. It's completely clean. Another person says the same, and then maybe Venerable Jigme comes along, our resident nurse practitioner. She looks in the bowl and she says, no, it's completely clean. There's something wrong with your eyes. I think we'll make an appointment for you to see the eye doctor. So by that time, I would feel, okay, it must be my eyes if nobody else is seeing what I see. And hopefully, if I do go to see the eye doctor and I get some treatment, maybe surgery even, and this problem clears up, and I will no longer have these appearances, these unpleasant, disturbing appearances to my eyes. So this analogy is like ordinary beings, the situation of us ordinary, unenlightened beings who haven't realized emptiness. So we are like the person who sees these falling hairs or bugs or specks or whatever that aren't really there. And yet, not knowing that this appearance is actually false. So in our situation, because of ignorance, our mind being under the influence of ignorance, it's not our fault. We didn't choose to be this way. We're born this way, and ignorance has been in our mind from beginningless time, according to Buddhism. So we have this habitual tendency to see things as inherently existing, as if they have a real mode of existence. They're really there from their own side. And not knowing any better, we buy into this appearance, follow it, act on it. For example, if there's a person that we find annoying or irritating, we think they're a jerk or an idiot, then it appears as if that person is a real jerk from their own side. They're really like that. And there's lots of other people who think that way too, so it makes it easier. And so then we just get totally into our feelings of dislike and aversion and criticalness, and we may even act out in some way, like complaining and blaming and criticizing and saying bad things. Maybe even do something negative, like smashing that person's picture against the wall. So under the influence of ignorance, seeing things as existing in a much more real way than they really do, then we can get caught up in these disturbing thoughts and emotions and even negative behavior. So that's how we get ourselves into trouble. So on the other hand, those who are Aryas, the term Arya refers to those who realized emptiness, who had a direct realization of emptiness. So they know that this false mode of appearance, it doesn't exist, it's wrong. Similar to a person with good vision, good eyesight, who doesn't see these specks that the other person does due to their eye problem. And so Aryas are able to say to us, no, 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 things don't exist that way. You know, it's because of the fault of ignorance in your mind that you're seeing things mistakenly. And if we're willing to believe them and investigate for ourselves, it takes some time. It's not like so easy as going to the eye doctor. But if we learn about emptiness, reflect on it, meditate on it, and eventually we'll get to the point where we too can have that realization of emptiness, which wipes out this false mode of appearance of things. Even after directly realizing emptiness, though, it said when you come out of your meditation, you still see things as if they were inherently existing. That appearance still appears, but you no longer believe in it as you did before. You know it's a false mode of existence. So that might be like a person who has vitreous floaters, who has this condition, but they know they have it. They acknowledge that they have it. So they know that these spots that appear in their bowl or in front of their eyes or wherever, it's not true. Those things are not really there, but it's due to their condition. So they don't get so disturbed by them. And so this simile illustrates the sort of process of going from being totally caught up in the appearance of inherent existence, believing in it, acting on the basis of that appearance, to starting to doubt, you know, maybe things don't exist that way, and eventually coming to the point where we can have a direct realization, things definitely don't exist that way. And then continuing on up to Buddhahood, where that faulty vision doesn't even appear anymore. A Buddha is able to see things exactly as they are without any of these faulty modes of appearance. And while preparing for this, I was thinking about this film. I think it's a few decades old, called A Beautiful Mind. Have any of you seen it? Based on a true story of a man who was brilliant, mathematician, I believe, from Yale or Princeton, one of those top-notch universities. And so he was actually a professor, and he even won a Nobel Prize for some of his work in economics. He had this amazing mind, but he also suffered from mental illness, I think something like schizophrenia, that would cause him to see things that weren't there. People, and other things. And he didn't realize that they weren't there, that they were only hallucinations of his mind. He totally believed in them, and he started interacting with them and, behaving as if those appearances were real. And he got himself into big trouble and eventually was put into a mental hospital and had horrible electric shock treatments and had to take medication. But he didn't like the medication because it made his mind dull and he wasn't able to do the work that he wanted to do. So he stopped taking the medication, and then the appearances started happening again. But he realized something. One of the people that he would see was this little girl, about 10-year-old girl. And so she started appearing, and he was having conversations with her. And then it occurred to him that this little girl looked exactly the same as she had for years. And that's not normal. I mean, if she was a real child, she would have grown up and, stopped looking like a little girl. So it's like logic, using logic to realize that this appearance cannot be true. So that was the start of his recovery. And he would still have, at the end of the movie they showed, he'd still have these appearances, but he didn't believe in them anymore. He knew that they were only due to his mental illness. And so he was able to manage them, manage his mind. So I thought it's a very good illustration of this process that we need to go through, doubting the way that things appear to us, checking, do they really exist like that or not? Are they true or not? And if we manage to realize that, no, we are seeing things incorrectly as a result of the mental illness of ignorance, then they might still appear for a while, but we're not so likely to buy into them, to believe in them, act out on the basis of believing in them. And so just that alone, even before having a direct realization of emptiness, just having doubt about the way things appear, thinking, maybe they don't exist that way, using logic, that can really help our mind to calm down and not be so caught up in disturbing emotions like anger and attachment and fear and anxiety and so forth. So it is a process, but it's very, very helpful, even to just have that doubt, as Aryadeva says. Just having a doubt about emptiness, about what is reality, will shake the foundations of samsara. So it's the beginnings of breaking down this very painful existence that we are in, which is sometimes compared to a prison or a huge ocean of suffering. So just starting to learn about emptiness, think about emptiness, having doubt about the solid way that things appear can be very, very beneficial for us. Thank you.